Mary McLeod Bethune was a history maker. Born in 1875 in South Carolina to former enslaved parents, she dedicated her life's work to advocating for racial, gender, education, and housing equality. Throughout her legacy, she founded a number of local and federal organizations, including the one we are visiting today, the National Council of Negro Women. Welcome back to another episode of Who Lives Here, a case for equal space. When Bethune decided to launch the National Council of Negro Women in 1935, she had already accomplished a significant amount of achievements to support the Black community. In the face of segregation, she founded Florida's Daytona School for Negro Girls in 1904, which we now know today as Bethune-Cookman University. And after the passage of the 19th Amendment, she mobilized voter registration groups to encourage Black women to vote in the 1920s. She also served as the president of activist Mary Church Terrell's National Association of Colored Women from 1924 to 1928. She knew there was still more work to be done to ensure Black women had an equal place in America. The National Council of Negro Women opened as a cohort of Black women organizers and leaders who presented a collective national voice against oppression and racism. As the organization grew and expanded and gained respect, Bethune established a national headquarters right here in Washington, D.C. within the Logan Circle neighborhood. It was this red brick townhouse that was purchased by Bethune as the first headquarters of the council. And from the years of 1943 to 1966, the house played a prominent role in the advancing of the causes of Black women around the country. It provided a meeting space for members to discuss pivotal national events, like the integration of the military, which Bethune helped when she advocated for when she became a recruiter for the Women's Army Corps, and also the integration of public schools. The council prioritized creating programs and strategizing protests to combat discrimination in housing, healthcare, and employment. In fact, fair housing was at the top of the council's convention agenda in 1947. Bethune had developed a 10-point action program to take political action on a number of topics: voting rights, anti-lynching, fair employment, and education rights. But out of all of these pressing issues, number 2 on the list read this: to enact legislation that outlawed restrictive covenants and other devices which conspire to perpetuate discrimination and segregation in housing. As a close friend to First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt and the highest-ranking Black woman in federal government, serving as the Director of Negro Affairs of the National Youth Administration, Bethune stood constantly on the front lines to put an end to discriminatory housing policies. She advised FDR during the critical New Deal years from her post on the unofficial Black cabinet, and in 1940, she became the vice president of the NAACP. During her advocacy year, she was a presidential advisor to Calvin Coolidge, Herbert Hoover, and Franklin Roosevelt. And in 1945, President Harry S. Truman appointed Bethune to be the only woman of color at the founding conference of the United Nations. Her legacy lives on in this house where she lived and met with heads of states to advance the interests of Black people. The council's work to raise awareness about housing discrimination and educate Black communities about their housing rights continue beyond Bethune through the leadership of Dorothy Height and other Black women predecessors. They created programs, seminars, and publications from the current headquarters in downtown DC along Pennsylvania Avenue. Thanks for watching another episode of Who Lives Here, Season 2, A Case for Equal Space.